The gentleman, Mr. Edwards, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Marangale, you testified that employees are asked to come back to work 4 days per pay period. How many days are in a pay period?
There are 10 days in a pay period.
10 days? So why are they asked to come back 4 days?
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned, we had a strong telework policy in place since 2004, so prior to the pandemic, and we were already in 2018, 2019 looking at ways to expand that for our workforce and enhance that. The pandemic certainly accelerated that against a timeline that we had.
Excuse me, because I'm on a clock. I've got to get to the point. What are employees expected to do in those 4 days that they could not do from their sofa or comfort of wherever they're at?
Thank you for clarifying. So during those days, our employees are expected to collaborate, work together, do the types of mentoring, network building within the agency that is more difficult to do when they are not on site.
And so why is 4 days the correct number in order to be able to collaborate with one another?
Well, unfortunately, there is no exact science that points to a correct number. We know that it needs to be more than what we feel like it needs to be more than what we have now, which is 2 days per pay period, and so we're moving to 4 as a next point.
All right, thank you. So for all of you, I'd just like to ask as quickly as you could answer, from my perspective in going through the pandemic, because to a large degree, I did some telework as well. And like many of you, I've participated in hundreds of Zoom meetings. And I found it interesting to watch what was going on the other side of these Zoom meetings. And it causes me to question the productivity of the person on the other side of that Zoom meeting. I would see folks dealing with their pets, washing their dishes. I'd see laundry stacked up on the couch. And I can't help but think that we're not getting the maximum productivity from folks when they're working from home. I know what my own tendencies are. I get lost in walking the dog, or the television's on, and I get caught up in that. And so what measures of productivity have you put into place to ensure that when folks are working at home, we get the same output as if they were in the office for these 4 days? Mr. Allies.
Thank you for your question, sir. I think a couple things. I'll talk about measurements here in a second. To me, time present is not work. I mean, they can be at their desk in the office not accomplishing their work. They can be at home not accomplishing their work. So I want to measure what they're doing output-wise. And we do that across our lines of business and also across our different components. So a couple of examples. Our obligation rates for the money that Congress generously provides us stay high, in the high 99% rate. In terms of our contract spending, it's actually risen across the pandemic from $18 billion in FY18 to $22 billion in FY23. FOIA is always a particular concern for folks, have risen from 392,000 in 20 to 535,000 in FY23. So I'm using different metrics. I want to see their performance that they're actually producing. If they're in the office or not, there are reasons to be in the office. I talked with the chairman earlier about engineering that's done on our ships. Needs to be done in person. You need that kind of ready access to the person. But otherwise, I want to see what their performance output is.
And so I'm clearly going to run out of time here, so I'll stick with you, Mr. Alice. When they're at work, there's the possibility that someone's looking over their shoulder and they know if that employee is on their Facebook or they're watching funny cat videos, or if they're dealing with their email, or if they're working on a spreadsheet. What assurances do you have that folks are totally engaged in their work when they're at home and not distracted by so many other extraneous activities?
So I think briefly, as you say, they can be distracted. So I want my supervisors to be engaged in what the work they're performing and evaluating their output very candidly. That's the best thing I can do. But that applies in the office too, sir.
Do you have the ability to monitor equipment when somebody's at home to know how many hours they spent on programs that are not authorized or used in the normal course of their business?
We can monitor what they're doing on the internet. That is correct, sir. And we also have what's called an insider threat program that monitors employees' use of their classified and unclassified networks as a counterintelligence method.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, I see I'm out of time, so I'll yield.